of our people in our own native community and across Canada are thinking about the tar sands. They're thinking about fracking. The violence that took place in Elzapokdog, in New Brunswick, of people, not just native people, but Acadians and New Brunswickers alike, protesting the incursion of a Houston-based fracking company into their territory, violently oppressed by the Royal Canadian Mounted Police under orders of this government and their agenda. These memories are fresh in our mind. And while the media tries to make it about burning police cars and violent warriors, we know darn well that these people have the right to be consulted, and the people of New Brunswick, the people of Elzapokdog First Nation stand united against the fracking industry. And in my opinion, the fight against corporate power is not about workers. Our people, our native people, are in a state of economic blackmail by these companies. And the policy approval, oversight, and enforcement legal regime that they are self-managing due to a lack of government oversight. This is especially prevalent in places like here in Alberta and the tar sands, and now everywhere across Canada in a post-Bill C-45 era. If presented with options, I don't believe that our people would choose to gain their livelihood from poisoning our water, earth, air, and self. They would rather have those sacred things remain healthy so that they continue to sustain our children forever. I do think that the fight against corporate power should target corporate CEOs, corporate boards, shareholders, and the banks that finance them through an economic paradigm that tells us it's okay to sacrifice people, the commons, our values, and everything under grandfather's son at the altar of irresponsible resource development and economic policy. This system allows these individuals, like individual and institutional shareholders, CEOs and their corporate boards, most of which living thousands of miles away, to continue to line their pockets, all at the expense of everything I'm describing. This is shameful. Shame! At the highest levels of governance, there are structural reinforcements that allow this uneven playing field to continue. Our workers need and deserve a just transition to sustainable livelihoods, just as much as First Nations deserve to be compensated for the harm externalized on our people, our air, water, and lands and way of life. And we deserve to have no meddling in our sovereignty and self-determination. What I'm here to talk to you about fundamentally, and what our movement Idle No More is about, is the radical redistribution of wealth and land in these countries. Wealth and land ownership that was accumulated through stolen Indian lands and slave labor, through gunboat diplomacy, and in many instances, outright genocide. Imagine what will happen when the workers of our lands, these lands they call Canada, unite with the true owners of this land, Indigenous peoples. Imagine what will happen when we converge the collective rights of workers with our own considerable constitutional powers and our rights as Indigenous peoples. Imagine the kind of economic, political, social, and spiritual and people power that we can wield if the Indigenous movement and the workers' movement come together. And finally, for those of us who are political junkies consumed by the Senate spending scandals of the past few weeks and recent revelations about Rob Ford's pot scam, these are only symptoms of the political corruption that exists in our society today. We're going to have to dig a lot deeper if we want to find the real rot in our political system. And I'm talking here about the degree to which for-profit corporate power has crept in and has now captured our system of policy making and democratic governance in this country. All you have to do is to look at the policy-making lobby system in Ottawa or the provincial capitals to see who really calls the shots in this country. And that's what's happening with the two omnibus bills of legislation last year, Bill C-38, Bill C-45, that Idle No More rose from the ashes from like the phoenix from the fire to confront. Bottom line, from coast to coast to coast, We have to start establishing the connections. Indigenous peoples have the legal basis. We have for decades. There has not been a bad, harmful project in this country stopped using Canada's environmental regulations. It has always been Indigenous peoples working in solidarity with labor, with the environmental movement, with the women's movement to stop and asserting through our sovereignty an Indigenous rights-based framework. And to conclude, I just wanted to say one main thing, and that is that the movement of Idle No More is about women power. And it's led by our Native women. And the fact of the matter is that the current scandal in this country of our murdered, missing Indigenous women and girls that continues to be not dealt with by this government or the police apparatus of this country, there's a powerful metaphor there. The connection between our treatment of our Indigenous women in this country and the economic policies that are driving this country's economy and the violence against our most sacred mother, Mother Earth, that it represents in places like the tar sands, in places like the Blood Reservation, where 2/3 of their land have been leased out to fracking companies, in places like in the Unistoten territory in British Columbia, where they're having bombings now against their land defenders. A bridge was burnt last night in the Unistoten territory. Shame! We have to more than ever stand together and support one another. The opposite of love is not hatred, it's apathy. And I encourage you all to go to idlenomore.com, sign up for the movement to receive our SMS text blasts, our emails, organize an action in your community, reach out to your local Native people. They want to have your support, and they will support you. Thank you very much.
Ladies and gentlemen, it's showtime. Let's shake, rattle, and roll.
Thank you, everyone. Thank you, Clayton. As